Greetings from Snake Mountain Boatworks on May 1st, 2020. It's May Day, and we're in the shop, still closed down, locked up. We'll see what next week brings. But I couldn't allow a major milestone to be passed without recording it for posterity. We're working on the 1947 Chris Craft U22 Cedar on oak, and I have, over the last couple of weeks, I have worked on fairing the topsides, filling all of the countersinks with 3M premium marine filler, or excuse me, 3M marine premium filler. I have caulked the seams with Total Boat Thixo Flex, and there I faced kind of a challenge because you can only imagine how many different times this boat was attended to since 1947. And during that time, at least once, somebody went at it with an orbital sander, which caused it to have kind of a moonscape quality to it. So I had to take all that down. But then at the same time, or at maybe some other time, somebody attempted to fill all of the seams between the planks. So I was faced with a situation where some of them were full, some of them were empty. I tried taking a very, very finely ground reefing hook and pulling it out, but whatever was in there was still adhering tenaciously, and it just tore the wood. So where the seams were quite open and I was concerned about water infiltration, I filled them with Thixo Flex. The others, I think we see an example sort of right in here. You sight down the boat once we paint it, as is typical of these Cedar top-sided U22s. You will see the seam lines. I am now applying my 5th coat of Pettit tie coat primer. Why 5 coats? Well, because it was so bumpy, and I knew that I'd be fairing it multiple times. And in truth, once you've faired it the first time and it's raw wood and you think you're there, and you put CPES on it, and immediately some of the errors and declivities begin appearing, and then apply the first couple coats of primer, and they jump right out at you. So what I've done is to apply the CPES in 3 coats, went after it with the get it out here, Festool inline sander. I sanded at 45 degrees and then longitudinally, and then applied 2 more coats of clear penetrating epoxy sealer, allowed it to cure for 36 hours, and began applying the tie coat. The tie coat goes on as it comes out of the can. It's not thin. And what you will discover is that if you've got half a gallon kicking around, put a layer of handy wrap or something like that down in the can on the surface of the paint. Because while the paint cures quite nicely and everything, it gets sticky. So I applied 2 coats, and got the sander out again. And we had it pretty good. I applied 2 more coats, and this morning and yesterday afternoon I spent a fair amount of time going over the hull. It's not going to be perfect because the undulations were just too extreme, and the Cedar just didn't particularly respond well to the 80 grit paper. But then I applied a partial 5th coat. I went over yesterday evening, about 9 o'clock last night. The recoat time here is, the shop today is about 63 degrees, so the recoat time is probably about 4 hours. I think the technical sheets suggest 2 hours at 75 degrees. Well, there's no way is it 75 degrees in here. Fuel oil and propane may have gotten cheap, but not that cheap. And I can't work in those temperatures anyway. It's awful. So I let that cure, and I've come in this morning, and hey, guess what? It's May Day, and it's also Milestone Day. The 1947 Chris Craft Cedar-sided U22 is primed and ready for paint. So later this afternoon, after I allow this to cure all day long, I'll be applying the first coat of Interlux Premium Yacht Enamel. I think the numerical code is 202, and that is semi-gloss white, which is almost identical to what the early boats were painted in. If you put high gloss white on, you might as well be prepared for a really awful result, because that gloss picks up every foible, every little declivity, every little undulation will be magnified many, many times. The semi-gloss gives you a nice flat surface. That premium yacht enamel it cures just beautifully, levels right out. You do thin it ever so slightly with Interlux 333, and I believe that is the designation is brushing liquid or special brushing liquid, but it's 333. There's only one 333. And if I put let's say a quart in my tray, I will mix a splash of 333 with it. You don't want to go too much, because the premium yacht enamel can get quite watery. Just a dollop, just a little bit. Stir it in well, put it in your tray. El Cheapo yellow foam rollers, and a foamy to get the details, like around the spray rails and the chine, and you'll have a great result. I will end up applying 4 to 5 coats of the top coat, because we will again sand. We'll put the first 2 coats on and then sand using 180 or 200, and just lightly sand it. I'll still use the inline sander, because even sanding by hand, or unless you want to use a block, but the blocks are pretty small. You just run the risk of doing this back again. So we will use the inline flatboard sander, and in a couple of weeks her topsides will be glistening white. Thank you so much. Bye-bye for now from Snake Mountain Boatworks.